All 6 of the top spots in the 2025 Consumer Reports brand reliability rankings belong to Japanese automakers, and those 6 are Subaru, Lexus, Toyota, Honda, Acura, and Mazda. Every single one. What follows is the story of how a two-syllable Japanese word, Kaizen, turned a country that was copying Dodge designs in the 1930s into the undisputed global leader in building cars that don't break. And none of it would have happened without a loom. Back in 1896, a Japanese inventor named Sakichi Toyoda built a power loom with a feature nobody had ever seen. Whenever a thread broke, the loom shut itself down automatically. Before that invention, a snapped thread meant the machine kept running and kept producing defective fabric that wouldn't get caught until it was far too late. Toyota reversed that entire logic, treating every defect as a reason to halt, not something to patch up later. That concept, building the ability to detect problems directly into the machine itself, earned the name jidoka, which roughly translates to automation with a human touch. And it planted the philosophical seed of something much bigger than textiles. Sakichi Toyoda founded the Toyota Group of companies, and his son Kiichiro steered the family business toward automobiles in the early 1930s. Their first passenger car, the 1936 model AA, borrowed so heavily from Dodge and Chevrolet that some of the parts could literally be swapped with the originals. Toyota nearly collapsed into bankruptcy by 1949. Japan's post-war economy lay in ruins, its factories had been bombed, and to the rest of the world made in Japan carried exactly one meaning: cheap junk. What turned that around arrived from a very unlikely place. An American statistician named W. Edwards Deming landed in Tokyo during the summer of 1950, invited by the Union of Japanese Scientists and Engineers, known as JUS, to teach statistical quality control. Over July and August, he lectured to hundreds of engineers, managers, and scholars, and one session stood out above all the rest: a single day spent with 21 of Japan's most powerful industrial leaders, including Akio Morita, the co-founder of Sony. Deming's core argument was blunt: design your manufacturing process to build quality in from the start, rather than inspecting for defects after the product already exists, and you'll cut costs while boosting both productivity and market share. Management builds the system, and when the system fails, that failure belongs to management, not to the worker standing on the floor. Deming once framed it like this: can you blame your competitor for your woes? No. You did it to yourself. And here's the part that stings. American manufacturers had already turned Deming away, reportedly dismissing his methods as too egalitarian because they handed too much decision-making authority to ordinary workers. Japan embraced what America refused. Deming donated his lecture royalties to JUS, and that money funded the creation of the Deming Prize in 1951, which remains the world's oldest quality award and is still handed out every year. Almost nobody in the United States knew Deming's name, and that wouldn't change for another 3 decades. While Deming's ideas spread through Japanese boardrooms, an engineer named Taiichi Ohno was converting them into something tangible inside Toyota. Ohno had begun his career at Toyota Automatic Loom Works, which meant he understood Sakichi Toyoda's original jidoka concept at a gut level. After transferring to Toyota Motor Corporation in 1943, he started installing automatic shutdown devices on machine tools. That effort paid off by 1954, when Toyota achieved widespread jidoka across its machining operations, and a single operator could handle up to 17 machines because each one stopped itself the instant something went wrong. Ohno's other breakthrough, the just-in-time method, drew inspiration from a source nobody would have predicted: American grocery stores. Supermarkets restocked their shelves based on what customers actually pulled off them, rather than pushing out inventory on a fixed schedule. And Ohno adapted that same pull-based logic to the factory floor. Make only what is needed, when it is needed, in the amount needed. And then came the andon cord, a physical rope running alongside the assembly line that gave any worker, not a manager, not a supervisor, but any worker, the power to halt the entire production line the second they spotted a problem. Pulling that cord lit up a signal board and triggered a short song that identified the workstation. Stopping production wasn't treated as a failure under this system. Stopping production meant the system was working exactly the way it should. All of these practices combined into what became the Toyota production system, and Kaizen served as the engine at its center. Not one dramatic overhaul, but thousands of tiny, relentless improvements rolling in every day from every person on the floor. Toyota launched its creative idea suggestion system in 1951, asking employees to submit ideas for improvement, and that first year produced just 789 suggestions, with total awards adding up to roughly $2,600. Toyota didn't abandon the program. By 1986, it was generating over 2.6 million suggestions annually, averaging 47 per employee, with a 95% participation rate and a 96% adoption rate. Across the full life of the program through 2024, Toyota has collected approximately 50 million total suggestions, 50 million small ideas, compounding across 7 decades. 2 Kaizen ideas per month is the expectation for every Toyota employee, and each person receives 15 minutes a day specifically to hunt for improvements. New hires train in fabrication and welding so they can physically build and test their own prototypes. One example captures the whole philosophy in miniature. A worker proposed a small lever that popped up a screw so nobody had to bend down to grab it, saving 0.2 of a second per car. That sounds trivial until you remember Toyota builds around 10 million cars a year, which means that one suggestion saved 560 person-hours annually. Multiply that by roughly 1,000 similar improvements per month shared across the company, and you start to see where the real force of Kaizen lies. Not in any single idea, but in the culture that keeps producing all of them at once. October 1973 changed the global car market in a matter of weeks. The OPEC oil embargo sent gas prices roughly 4 times higher, jumping from about 25 cents a gallon to over $1, and up to 20% of American gas stations ran completely dry. Millions of consumers stuck with heavy, fuel-hungry V8s went searching for alternatives, and what they discovered were small, efficient, well-built Japanese cars like the Honda Civic, the Toyota Corolla, and the Datsun lineup. Detroit's answers to that demand, the Ford Pinto and the Chevy Vega, became notorious disasters. 27 fatalities were linked to the Pinto's rear-end fires, and around 130,000 Vegas got recalled over fire hazards. The market share shift tells the rest. Japanese cars represented about 1.4% of American sales in 1970, climbed to roughly 9% by 1976, and hit 21% by 1980. By the late 1980s, imports held around 28% of U.S. car sales, and in 1980, Japanese automobile production outpaced American production for the first time in history. That same year, NBC broadcast a documentary called If Japan Can, Why Can't We? And Americans heard the name W. Edwards Deming for the first time, 3 full decades after their own industry had turned him away. Ford, losing enormous amounts of money, brought Deming in, and the collaboration helped produce the Ford Taurus, which became one of the best-selling cars of all time. The most striking evidence that Kaizen wasn't some uniquely Japanese cultural trait showed up in Fremont, California. General Motors had shuttered its Fremont assembly plant in 1982, after years of it ranking as arguably the worst facility in their entire system, a place defined by absenteeism, drug use on the factory floor, and abysmal build quality. One rule governed everything at that plant: the assembly line never stops. A former employee recalled watching a man fall into a pit while the line kept moving, and a supervisor captured the old culture in a single sentence: "You saw a problem, you stopped that line. You were fired." Toyota and GM reopened that exact factory as a joint venture called NUMMI, short for New United Motor Manufacturing, in 1984, putting $100 million in from each side and hiring back many of the same workers. Toyota flew them to its Takaoka plant in Japan for training, and within about a year, quality at that Fremont factory had climbed to match Toyota's best Japanese facility. Same workers, same building, a completely different operating system. NUMMI workers could pull the andon cord whenever they found a defect, and instead of losing their jobs, a cheerful song played, one they got to pick themselves. Billy Madrid, one of those workers, described his first encounter with Toyota's methods in Japan by saying, "That impressed me. Fix it now so you don't have to go through all this stuff." What NUMMI demonstrated was that Kaizen didn't require Japanese DNA. It required a system where every person is trusted and expected to make things better. That track record hit its roughest patch in 2009, when Toyota confronted one of the largest recall crises in automotive history. Roughly 9 million vehicles were recalled worldwide over unintended acceleration problems, and a fatal crash in San Diego killed a California Highway Patrol officer, along with 3 members of his family. CEO Akio Toyoda sat before the U.S. Congress in February 2010, and by 2014, Toyota had agreed to a $1.2 billion settlement. A number of analysts pointed to the company's aggressive global expansion during the 2000s as the root cause, arguing that growth had outrun the very Kaizen culture that built the company in the first place. What followed that crisis told the deeper story. Toyota returned to its quality foundations, overhauled its safety protocols, and by 2012 had reclaimed the title of world's largest automaker. Lexus now holds the #1 position in J.D. Power's vehicle dependability study for 3 consecutive years running, recording just 140 problems per 100 vehicles. For comparison, the brand sitting at the very bottom of that same 2025 study is Volkswagen, at 285. A Japanese consultant named Masaaki Imai gave the Western world its vocabulary for all of this when he published Kaizen, the key to Japan's competitive success in 1986. That book became a global bestseller, earned translations into more than 14 languages, and represented the first time the Western business community had a word for what Toyota had been practicing for decades. Imai went on to found the Kaizen Institute, which now operates across more than 30 countries, and he passed away in June 2023 at the age of 92. The philosophy Imai spent his entire life teaching rests on an idea so plain it's almost tempting to wave it off. Our way of life, working life and home life alike, deserves to be constantly improved. Not through flashes of genius, but through the steady accumulation of small, thoughtful changes made by everyone, every day. That is how a loom maker's grandson built the most reliable cars on Earth. Not with a single revolution, but with 50 million quiet ones, and they're still counting.